Hello, everyone. I'm James, and I would like to give my presentation the best that I can from home. But this is my proposal for my mixed method research, and I like to title it The Effect of Requiring the ACT for High School Juniors with Significant Cognitive Disabilities in Oklahoma. And when I talk about Oklahoma, of course, I'm talking about Oklahoma schools. Uh, this is what I put together. Excuse me while I focus. All right, here we go. We'll start with uh, my study, which is just in the proposal stage, examines how special education teachers perceive the use of the ACT and Accuplacer when planning post-secondary transition for students with significant cognitive disabilities. So my proposal will investigate whether a brief professional development session can improve teachers' confidence in using the assessment. So, in most research studies, to have research, we always start with some sort of problem, in this case an educational problem, that I believe in Oklahoma many students with disabilities are required to participate in college readiness assessment such as the ACT. While these assessments they do provide standardized information, there's also ongoing debate about whether they offer meaningful data for students with significant cognitive disabilities. Special education teachers are often responsible for interpreting these scores and incorporating them into transition planning, which is part of the IEP process. Now, however, it's important to note that very little research has examined whether teachers perceives whether these assessments are actually useful or whether the time spent administrating them takes away from individual transition planning. Okay. Now I'm going to direct to number 2. Hopefully it won't disappear. Big blue question mark. Start with the research problem. The central research problem is that teachers are expected to use the ACT and Accuplacer results to guide transition planning, and this is for their post-secondary and journeys. Yet we know little about whether teachers believe these assessments are appropriate for this type of population. So additionally, there's also limited evidence regarding whether professional learning can increase educators' confidence in interpreting these assessment results. So when doing a research study, I would direct you towards the little green arrow. I'll talk about the purpose of the study. So the purpose of my proposed study is first, I would want to seek to understand the perceptions that teachers have regarding the ACT test. Also, I want to explore their perception of the Accuplacer as well, because we have a lot of students that are in special education services that do not intend to go to college, but they may pursue technical schools, and the the ACT test may not be the most appropriate indicator of how well they'll do in a technical school, as opposed to the Accuplacer. I also want to measure whether a short professional development session changes teachers' confidence in using these assessments. And finally, this proposed study examines how assessment-related administrative responsibility influence instructional planning and decision making. Now, if I can direct you, let me see if I can move my screen over to for the research question. Research question, I mean, this my study proposal is essentially guided by these 5 research questions. Let me get them all on the screen. Looks like I got them all on the screen. The study is guided by the first to explore teachers' perception of the ACT and Accuplacer as transition assessment tools, and then the next couple is to determine whether there's a significantly statistically increase in teachers' confidence following professional development intervention. We get down to the final one. I don't know if we can see it on the screen, but it's probably making it smaller. And the 5th question investigates how the assessment-related administrative duties influence classroom instructions and transition planning. All right, I am going to attempt to move the screen up to here. I've broken up the literature in 5 parts, as you can see: transition, assessment, teacher preparedness, family partnership, accountability, as well as informational support. Some key points I want to bring up about what I learned from my literature review and talking about these 5 themes is first, the transition assessment should be an ongoing process that includes multiple sources of information rather than just relying on a single standardized assessment similar to the ACT. Second, the research that I reviewed shows that many special education teachers feel unprepared to interpret complex assessment data. The third thing I noted is families often depend on educators to explain assessment results and guide transition planning. And the fourth thing, accountability requirements can shift from instructional priorities and increase administrative burdens. And then finally, several studies, ones that I looked at that I included in my reference page, suggest that targeted information supports and professional development can improve educators' confidence and the decision making. Okay. Now, because we did a mixed method research, we have both a number 6, a quantitative approach, what I'm more familiar with, and what I'm learning more about, a qualitative analysis. So starting with the number 6 box, just some highlights from my quantitative research design, which is still a proposal. This portion of the study uses pre-test and post-test within the subject design. Now, the participants will include approximately 6 to 15 high school special education teachers, preferably those that teach 11th grade subjects, because that is the current age that my special education students will be required to take the ACT test. Teachers will complete a survey before participating in a 45 to 60 minute professional development session focused on the ACT as well as the Accuplacer, which I think is important just to point out that, you know, the ACT will sort of guide you towards college, and the Accuplacer more of technical trades and technical schools. Now, following the training, I'd like the participants to complete the same survey to determine whether their confidence and perceptions have changed. Okay, now direct you towards box 7. I'm now at my qualitative research design, and so my qualitative proposal it will be used to interpret a phenomenological approach. Teachers will participate in semi-structured interviews that explore their experiences using the ACT and Accuplacer results during the transition planning. So additionally, uh, district documents, assessment schedules, transition plans, guidance materials, and uh, all these documents will be part of the review in my qualitative process. I'll also interview the transcription documents and I will code them to identify themes related to assessment, usefulness, accommodations, administrative burdens, and the instructional decision making. Okay? Now, going from qualitative approach, directing you to part of the assignment was the ethical consideration. Now, because this study involves human participants, it's very critical uh, that ethical safeguards are implemented. This includes the Institutional Review Board, often referred to as IRB. You have to have approval, as well as some school district has their own IRB, so you'll need the district's permission before data can be collected. Now, our participants will be volunteering, and they can revoke their voluntary status at any time. They'll have to give informed consent, and confidentiality will be maintained throughout the entire process through pseudonyms. So, if my name is James, I might be Roger. So we'll hide any identifiable names, locations, anything that could prevent confidentiality, and all the data will be secured in a stored place. And we do this to strengthen trustworthiness. That the study will also include member checking, triangulation, and these types of methods that will ensure confidentiality by following strict IRB guidelines, and it is just good practice. Now, I included number 10, if you look to number 10, as the potential implications. So I would believe that this study may help improve the transition planning by increasing the special education teacher's confidence in interpreting assessment data. For policies, it may provide evidence to improve future decisions about statewide assessment and requirements for students with significant cognitive disability. And so it relies on, if this was a real research, we would have a findings chapter. So if we simulate that we did have a findings chapter, or a findings section in the research, it could identify professional development needs and contribute to stronger teacher preparation. So finally, this research could serve as a foundation for larger studies involving multiple districts and additional stakeholder groups such as families and administrators. And so, again, if this was an actual study, for what I'm used to doing studies, your final chapter, you'd have your discussion section. You'd also have a section for recommendations of further research. It would definitely fall under that section. So, in conclusion, this mixed method study seeks to better understand teachers' experiences using the ACT and Accuplacer for transition planning, while also evaluating whether a simple professional development intervention can improve educator confidence. So ultimately, the goal is to provide evidence that support better assessment practices and more meaningful post-secondary transition planning for students with significant cognitive disability. And this, in its entirety, is my research proposal. And again, I am James. Let you know that I am actually here. And here I am. Now, any questions, I guess you can email me or any other methods if you have any questions about the proposal. And I enjoyed the course and thought it was a really good experience to work with my fellow Moore teachers. And it has been very rewarding. And again, any questions, just contact me by email. Thank you.